DJ PK, we are joined now by Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports College Football National Writer. Shehan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shehan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we make so many predictions, and, you get 70% right, you get 30% wrong. It happens all the time. But I usually like to be wrong, if for no other reason that's where the entertainment is. Watching a game when I think I know what's going to happen, and then it happens, and it takes 3.5 hours to happen, I don't really have the patience for that. That Kansas State-Utah game, I was wrong about 47 things in that game. It was wildly entertaining. I wonder if you feel the same way, or if you're entertained because you got to watch 10 games at a time anyway, so good luck with that.
Well, I think that with that game in particular, right? I mean, obviously Kansas State has been so inconsistent this year, but you felt like they've had some of these pieces that have the ability to break out, that have the ability to stress in the run game, for example. And, I didn't necessarily think it was going to happen against this particular team, this Utah team that I think very highly of. But, I think that it's a huge testament to Kansas State that they've managed to keep fighting. And, I think that you saw their coach, Chris Kleiman, very emotional after the game, saying, we're still trying to figure this thing out. But, they had Utah in a rough position heading into the fourth quarter. But similar deal, right? I think that for Utah, like for them to have one of these games where you make stuff happen down the stretch, where you find a way to win, like that's the sort of thing that you need to do to be a great football team. And again, so while, like you said, definitely wrong about how I thought that game would go, I think it says a lot about Utah that they figured it out.
Yeah, and I think they're going to win at Kansas, and they're going to be 10-2. And I understand that they're probably most likely not going to go to Arlington to play Texas Tech. It doesn't look that way, but nevertheless, 10-2 is an outstanding season. And I'm wondering, for BYU, then you've got a lot of decent wins, and I think you got a really good win over Utah. And we're biased here. We see this. These are our programs. We cover day to day, blah, blah, blah. But, I think we also have some credibility because we do see them every day. We see their warts. And where I'm going with this is that if BYU beats UCF, which we all anticipate, and then gets beat by Texas Tech in Arlington, in my mind, as my partner DJ brought up earlier, that's exactly the scenario with SMU, and they got in last year. It just doesn't seem to me that there's any way that BYU should be left out, particularly when we have you before the committee puts out the poll, where the committee chairman says, well, the reason against BYU is they didn't look good against Texas Tech. All right, so they established the criteria, look good. So in my mind, when they go, if they go, which we think will happen too, to Texas to play that game, the standard is simply look good, because you just said they didn't look good the first time. So that means if they look good the second time, that ought to be good enough at 11-2 to get you in the playoff.
No, I think that that's all true. And, I think that, for BYU, look, obviously that first game was really rough for them. But I think that, even make that comparison to the ACC championship game last year. The team that SMU played in Clemson was a much worse team than what Texas Tech is. Texas Tech, they're number 5 right now, and frankly, I think they might be undervalued.
Yeah.
They are a really, really good team. You look at a lot of metrics, they are the number 1 defense in college football. IHS-wise, maybe I'd put them second behind Ohio State, but it's a discussion, right? Like, they are in that discussion. And I think that for BYU, there's two things that I think should provide some optimism. One is, I think that they actually did some good stuff in that game. I think that they actually did create some opportunities. They just weren't able to capitalize on them. And I think even you look at, kind of that final scoreboard, a lot of things were caused by, all right, Texas Tech started with good field position. Texas Tech created some opportunities. But I think that the score, the second one, there's reasons to think that it could go a little bit differently that second time. Now, I will say this. I think that BYU probably does need something to happen in front of them with the way that the committee is treating them. I personally think like you said, a team heading into a conference championship game at 11-1, like that team should be in the college football playoff. It shouldn't be a question that that team is in the college football playoff, especially, by the way, when you've got two lost teams that don't even have necessarily the resumes that BYU has ahead of them. And, I've said this on other programs. I feel like one of the things that hurts BYU in sort of the perception of things, especially for people who don't, not that the committee doesn't, watch the games, because they do, but, I think that one thing is, like, people look at these final scores, they look at some of these advanced metrics that really value beating teams up the way that Utah has, as opposed to winning games the way that BYU has. I think that sometimes that puts them half a step behind in a way that I think, frankly, is unrepresentative of necessarily the quality of these teams. So I do think that BYU probably does need something ahead of them to go right, like an Alabama in the Iron Bowl, something like that. But I mean, the reality is, like you said, if they have a really close, really good game against a Texas Tech team that everybody acknowledges is at minimum a top 5 team in America, that should mean something to the committee.
Are there any games, mythical games that could be played, BYU versus Alabama, BYU versus Notre Dame, BYU versus Oklahoma, the two lost teams right in front of them, where you are really sure how it would play out, whether BYU won or whether BYU lost? And I say this knowing full well we were just amazed by Utah and K-State, so who really knows? But nonetheless, how much confidence would you have picking BYU versus any of those three teams?
No, I mean, it's a good question. And I think that, the thing that's interesting about BYU is that I think that they are so versatile from a matchup perspective, right? I mean, they're a team that we kind of know their bread and butter is on defense. They're really good defending the pass. They're really good defending the red zone. And I think that especially when you look at some of these teams, I'm especially looking at an Alabama that can't run the ball. Like, I think that that's a huge issue if you're playing BYU, because I think that, again, it really limits your red zone opportunities when you have to throw into the teeth of that defense, when you're trying to throw over Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly, when you're trying to throw through, Sasuala back there. I think that that's something that matters, right? Now, again, I think by the same token, I would have some concerns, for some of these teams with defending BYU's offense. BYU's offense obviously struggled a little bit against Texas Tech. I think that one of the big things is, and actually I ran into a family member of Bear Bachmeyer's after the Texas Tech game, and he was like, man, I would have loved for them to toss the ball around a little more. And I think that's one of the things, right, is when you head into these big-time matchups, we're going to need to see them attack the edges just a little bit more in the passing game than they have through most of this season. That's something I think they're capable of doing with their personnel. But again, so I think it becomes very matchup based. I think that Notre Dame, they're playing at a very high level. They also haven't been tested by a team like BYU in many, many weeks. I think that, Alabama, I think they'd really struggle to run the ball and become one-dimensional offensively. And so it would be, how does BYU hang against their defensive line? So all that to say, I think that BYU would definitely have a chance and a really good path to victory against almost any of these teams.
I just can't believe the breaking news that Lane Kiffin is going to take the Cal job. Can you?
Well, listen, man, I've been on the phone with you guys and off of my phone for 7 minutes. So you can't tease me like that. But
nice.
No, but it's so interesting. One, the whole Lane Kiffin drama, because it's like, I mean, look, Lane is a very good coach. I want to be clear about that. He has led Ole Miss to quite literally their greatest period of success since racial integration in college football. At the same time, it's crazy. The highest paid coach in college football is going to be one that's never won a major conference championship. That's crazy to think about in so many ways. And I think that, just talking to people around the industry, there really is sort of no idea what Lane is going to do. He's obviously so, he's so individual in his decision making. And so, talking to people again, I think that there really is a one-third chance between Ole Miss, Florida, and LSU, maybe leaning a little bit more LSU at this moment. But I mean, this saga has really dragged on, and this is, I think, one of the curses of these long coaching cycles. Is this is what we're going to talk about for a long, long time.
It's amazing that he's kept it this quiet because new coaches have to put staffs together and people who are in jobs have to let people know they're leaving, and so it's going to leak. But this hasn't, and I wonder if you think that this impacts the psychology of the Egg Bowl, and is there a world where Ole Miss comes out, lays, dare I say it, an egg, and loses the Egg Bowl to Mississippi State?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's such an interesting matchup because, first of all, okay, yeah, you obviously have the dynamics of Lane and the distractions. And, I mean, look, again, like I mentioned, I think it's maybe a third that he picks either place. That's still a 2/3 chance that he leaves if that's the case, right? So all of his players kind of understand, like, he might not be here. He might not be here in the college football playoff when we make it. Like, I think that is a major psychology that they have to reckon with. I mean, again, it's similar deal, like even with the fans. They don't know necessarily what it's going to look like whenever, the time comes. And then for Mississippi State, like, I mean, they are a scrappy team. They are a team that creates explosive plays. They're a team that actually is pretty underrated on the defensive line. I think that they really, really upgraded there over last offseason, going from a horrendous unit to a pretty good one. And I think that that's going to give them a chance. Like, again, this Ole Miss team, I believe at this point their only ranked victory is against Oklahoma, because LSU, of course, fell off. I think maybe I think Missouri is going to fall. I think they have a win over them. But, like, this isn't a battle-tested team either, So I think that there's absolutely a chance that Mississippi State is able to pull some stuff off. I think that, for Mississippi State, I think that Jeff Lebby knows how important this particular game is to his perception and his job. If he wins that game, again, he suddenly buys himself probably another year or two of trying to go and figure some things out. So, it's going to be an interesting dynamic for sure. I do think that Mississippi State absolutely has the ability to cause some chaos. Though I will say, just to preface that, if they lose that game, I still think that they make the college football playoff.
I assume you saw and heard Nick Saban's comments. This isn't a Lane Kiffin conundrum exclusively. It's a college football conundrum. So, I think we all agree to an extent, but what can be done about it? Because it seems like it's just getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that obviously the cycle has sped up. Obviously the calendar's bad, but there's no calendar that could be different that's going to prevent what's happening right now. The Florida coach was fired in mid-October. Like, of course they're going to start their search when they fire their football coach. So I think there's a couple pieces of this. One is, well, then the schools have to not fire as early as they do. Also, you have to eliminate points of contact for the new coach until, quote unquote, the appropriate time. But here's the reality of the situation. We're talking about, well, coach should do this or school should do this or the NCAA should do this. It's the agents, man. Like it's the agents. They're the ones who are, kind of able to orchestrate so much of this stuff behind the scenes. They're the ones who are able to make contact in permissible ways with schools. Like, there's not really a way to avoid that unless you really want to heavily regulate agents, which, especially in SEC country, is a non-starter of an issue, let's say. So, again, I just think that that's a little bit silly in my mind to think that that's how any of this works. I mean, Nick Saban was of course represented by the best agent in the sport, Jimmy Sexton. And Jimmy Sexton is a very powerful person who knows how to get the most for his clients. And here's the reality too, right, is that there are ways that even if Lane was leaving, that this could have been handled in a quieter way, that this could have been managed in a quieter way. He doesn't have to go on Pat McAfee and do interviews where he doesn't commit to anything. Like, this is the sort of thing that he doesn't have to do. So, yeah, I mean, are there things about the calendar that could be adjusted? Are there rules that could be passed to make things a little easier? Sure. But the reality of the situation is that the people who really kind of drive this stuff are people who really aren't governable.
So the NFL can regulate agents, that's the difference? Because they have their draft and free agency later, and obviously the equivalent would be recruiting in the transfer portal for college. If they went back to a February date and moved the transfer portal after spring football?
So, I mean, I think that's, obviously sort of an interesting situation because, one, I mean, when you talk about the regulating from an agent's perspective, well, when you talk about the NFL versus college, there's like a licensing process that the NFL does, right? They have like a whole, and
the Players Association does it, and there's no Players Association because the players aren't employees.
Yes, and on top of that, and I mean, I'm certainly not a lawyer, so I won't speak to it too much, but I would also be curious. Obviously, there's the collectively bargained piece, but then again, I don't know if even sort of the antitrust exemption piece that the NFL has that college football doesn't have plays a role in it as well. So, again, there's some avenues that the NFL has available to them and pro sports in general that college athletics, at least at this moment, does not. Obviously, we'll see if some of that changes with some of the legislation that seems to be moving slowly through the system. But I think so. That's one piece of it. I think the other thing is, like you said, I mean, so many of these things are things that coaches are pushing for, right? I mean, you mentioned pushing the transfer portal window until after the spring. Well, no, coaches want them there as soon as possible. Coaches want them there so that they can go through spring ball with them, right? And so that's the sort of thing where, again, there's these disparate sort of things that make it really, really difficult. And I mean, even for example, right? I mean, people might wonder, like, why does it have to be like exactly June 2nd to June 13th? Well, like, you're running up, like Nick Saban mentioned, against literal enrollment deadlines for schools. When you enroll in the school, you add drop deadlines people might remember from back in college, right? Like, that's the actual thing that you're running up against. And I mean, look, it's easy for Nick Saban to just kind of say, well, schools should completely bend their will for college football specifically, but that's not realistically going to happen. These schools, college football is a big part of what every one of these schools does. It is not the only thing that these schools do.
What's everybody working on cooking at CBS Sportsline this week?
Yeah, we got a big week, of course, rivalry week. So I'll be down at Texas versus Texas A&M on Friday. Very excited for that one. The first return game to Austin since 2010, and we're going to be sprayed all over the country, man. We got all sorts of stuff, of course, as you can imagine, cooking on the Lane Kiffin front. We've got features prepared for that game, for so many others, Ohio State, Michigan. So this is a big week for us, and Lord knows we want to get it all done before Thursday.
Sure.
Do you think BYU Utah, if they were both 10-1 playing right now, would be buried? Is it too big a risk to put that game there when they need big TV games every week? I get why they did what they did, but you look at what they might be able to have now if they had chosen differently.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, this would be one of the biggest games in like the history of Western college football. Let's not even call it the state of Utah. But like you said, I mean, this is the thing that, when you're the Big 12, you're kind of trying to figure out a little bit, right? Is that this would be such a big, incredible game, but, so many years it could get buried. I mean, I'm down here, I'm a Baylor grad, like Baylor TCU, similar sort of deal. Obviously this year it's not a very good game. If it was on the final week of the season, it would get 0 ratings. And so I think that and obviously BYU, Utah, I think are at this point 2 better quality programs than Baylor and TCU right now. But, I understand kind of their thought process, right? Because, I do think that when national college football fans think of rivalry weekend, they primarily think of the game and they primarily think of the Iron Bowl. And, I think that and now Texas A&M back, so I think that this becomes a little bit of a complicated weekend because of that. Now, does that change a little bit? For example, if this game, if BYU Utah was on Thanksgiving or on Friday, and it's really a huge signature game, maybe. But I do think that there is just so much going on from a rivalry game perspective that I actually think that the Big 12 is making a good call by saying, let's spread them out. Let's have some really marquee matchups on weekends that maybe there aren't any. And I think that gives you just a little bit more opportunity to have attention. Because again, I actually have no idea where College Game Day is going this weekend, but it should be going if BYU Utah was this weekend to that game, but would they pass up Ohio State, Michigan, or Alabama, Auburn? Do I trust them to do that? Not necessarily.
All right, Shehan, we like you, and you have been coming on all year long, so we're just going to say we have it on super good authority that there have been discussions at the highest level of the Big 12 about a Wednesday night football game to kick off a weekend of football. Now, we were not told
before Thanksgiving
which teams might be playing on the night before Thanksgiving, just that the Big 12 might play a game on the night before Thanksgiving. You can imagine what game that might be. It might be BYU and Utah. Now, ultimately, they could put someone else there. It might be a slot that the Big 12 takes with the networks. But you can see the logic of putting a game on Wednesday night. The country is ready for football. The holiday weekend has begun. I mean, nobody's working on Wednesday if they can get away with it. I mean, some people can't get away with it, so they have to work. But the people who can get away with it, they're disappearing.
Well, I will tell you what. God bless Kalani Sitake, Kyle Whittingham having to prepare for a Wednesday game, because that is a tough turnaround.
I think they got to give them a bye week. They got to. If you want the whole country to watch and you want to play their best football, you better give them a bye week.
Tech just had a bye week,
yeah.
Yeah. No, it definitely happens this week where you see. So I mean, I think Tech had a bye week last week. So
there were three of the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can create a scenario. I mean, look, I think it would be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, again, there's also the logistical hurdles to work through. And again, it's this is sort of the blessing and the curse of the TV product thing, right? I think that would be really fun to watch as like a college football fan. But man, it's also like, your marquee match of the season is like on this weird kind of distorted week. That would be also kind of a weird situation. So I'd have to sit and think in that. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do like that the Big 12 is willing to say, let's try to figure out where we can fit in.
You can pull a quote. Mark Harlan was on our show, athletic director, and referenced a phone call with the Big 12 commissioner. So if you end up writing the story, pull a quote and, give us a shout-out.
Will do.
All right. Thanks, Sean. We appreciate it. Enjoy that Texas A&M game. That's an awesome game to get assigned to, man. That place ought to be on fire.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. You guys know that I'm a Texas through and through. I was at the one last year. I think this one is going to be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
so very excited for it.
Yep. All right. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When we come back, everything you missed in this show and a couple of new things, too. Next, stay with us.
It's game week for the Utes, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. After one of the craziest, most bizarre games in Utah history, Kyle Whittingham and the Utes hit the road for the regular season finale in Lawrence against the Kansas Jayhawks. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Utah football on KSLSports.com.
Let's go then. Let's go, baby.
Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Slacker rated headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. We have talked a lot of college football this morning. I don't think the Utes' postseason is going to be changed or shaped by the win, but, man, just for 3.5 hours of entertainment and for seniors who want to win the last game, and if that was Kyle Whittingham, or last home game, if Kyle Whittingham, if that was his last home game, what a way to go out. That game was wildly entertaining, PK.
Well, and also for recruits on the sidelines.
Yes, for the future, you're right.
I mean, you're always recruiting. They had guys there.
They got a quarterback commit out of it.
They did. Look at the environment. Where was he? Was he committed to UCF or something?
UCF flipped overnight.
Yeah, and who
Kane
knows?
Archer.
And maybe he's a hell of a quarterback. We have no idea. I mean, that's the first I'm hearing of him.
And maybe he'll transfer before he ever plays, so who knows?
Who knows?
But nonetheless, you'd rather do well in recruiting than not, and then let the later chips fall where they may. You don't want to have a bad day recruiting. So
right.
And I thought the thing about the game was they've had these 3-night games in a row, and a lot of people have left early. And the ASU weather was horrific that you would even show up. Yeah, it was awesome. And that other people are leaving these blowouts, and it's 10:15 at night, and it's a 30-point game. I totally get it. There were people bailing at halftime and throughout the second half. And Kyle referenced it in his postgame. They noticed it on the sideline. I was struck that at the south end, which those are more expensive and I assume corporate, those looked like they were 10 or 15% full at the end of the game.
I think you're overlooking the fact they wanted to get home and watch BYU.
Oh, okay. And then at the north end zone, it was packed, and it was bedlam. It was like opposite ends of the stadium, totally different environment.
Well, because they're drunk.
Okay. All right, thanks. We're not going to have a serious discussion
Look at
about
you go. It's definitely 9:30.
All the wealthy BYU entrepreneurs who have to go for corporate reasons and sit in the south end zone.
I mean, in the north, they got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Who wants to go home in their trailer?
Well, then when they pick ends, usually you pick based on the sun or the wind or whatever. It's like you got to play in front of the north end zone fans. That was a chaotic environment in the best sense of the word. No field storming after beating a 5-5 team. I assume you appreciated that.
Right.
Yeah. But chaos. We were down on the field at the end of the game, and the stands were. It's easy to say, "Oh, they erupted in the stands." They really did.
Well, I've been down there for many, many games and some of their finest moments. And
what percent of that
was the craziest game
people
I've
were like,
been on.
have you ever seen anything like that? You don't want to rain on people's parade in the moment, but I'm like, oh, did you see the USC-Utah game, 43-42?
But that was sort of back and forth.
It was back and forth.
That was a traditional, quote,
different.
slugfest.
They were down 14 in that game, though, a couple of times.
Yeah, but everybody knows SC's defense.
Yeah, SC's defense always,
sucked.
there's going to be a chance.
Right.
Whereas this, it was just these 80-yard runs. You're like, what is going on?
Well, I was talking to a security guard, and he's just going, "Oh man, I'm like, yeah." And then he goes, "Who do you guys play next week?" It dawned on me, he thought I was from Kansas State. What? First of all, I don't play anybody.
Yeah, look at me, man. I got a bad knee, and I want to protect my Achilles.
He clearly thought, because when you come out, you come down the
you end up
southwest side.
You end up standing by the entrance to their locker room.
Yeah. And that's where they let us go down on the field.
Plus, you were wearing purple.
Yeah, I was not wearing purple. I had on gray. I make sure I never wear any color associated
you make
with
that
anybody.
mistake once early in your career, you never make it again.
I wear red to a women's BYU Utah basketball game and got lit up, and I didn't even think of it.
Yep.
And I think
and now you've just learned gray, brown, and green.
Yeah.
Stay with the earth tones, people.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And especially when it's colder. But yeah, it was a crazy ending. It was fun. And I don't, when you think about it, DJ. When somebody says, "Okay, what did it mean?" What does any of it mean?
I know.
If you want to go big picture.
I know there was a whole bunch of discussion about, well, now the committee's going to have a reason, hey, they didn't look good. They're going to have a reason to drop them. Well, I realize you want to be ranked as high as you are, and probably that goes back to recruiting too. I don't think they'll drop them that far. But I never thought that they were going to leapfrog Utah over people. Utah needed people in front of them to lose, and this is basically, it's not completely, but it's basically 3 weeks in a row. It's pretty much been favorites win. And
we're talking to University President Taylor Randall after. Good guy. Talk to him almost every week. And we go back and forth. And he said, I don't think we're going to be able to make that jump. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I get it. But at the same time, man, I cannot criticize this football team. They're going to be 10-2. And one of the losses was a 3-pointer, and the other one you were down by 3 late in the game.
And we've been watching football a long time, and anytime a team says we had a 10-win season, that is a mark of excellence. Yeah. Coaches get new jobs or new contracts off of it.
And you build momentum off of it.
Yeah, you do.
If I was a kid and I was recruited by the University of Utah to play football, I would be ecstatic. If I was a parent and my kid was in the same situation, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah.
This can set you up for life, help point you on the right track. All the things that are positive about sports the U of U can offer.
We talked about BYU, and while the Ute game was wildly unpredictable, I thought the BYU game was completely predictable. It's what we talked about on Friday. Bet on Jace Hill's defense. They only gave up 14 points. I thought they had them under control most of the night. Cincinnati is not a good defense against the run. A-Rod promised a long time ago that BYU was going to be able to run the ball. Now, if you're going to be surprised, you never predict a guy's going to run for 200 yards. And L.J. Martin, 222 yards on the ground, plus 44 yards receiving. Just an awesome performance by him.
It really was.
As the game went on, BYU's O-line just kept winning. And
offensive line has been very good this year.
And
Utah's got a lot of publicity, but BYU's has been good
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's important. And
then L.J. broke every tackle he needed to, and even when they got him down, he was finishing, falling forward for another yard or two, and it was a rock solid. It was a 6-point game, so you knew anything could happen. One bizarro bounce or whatever, but BYU was in control.
Most teams have a particular formula in which they win. Mm-hmm. This is BYU's formula to win in 2025. So they're going to be criticized for it. It doesn't make any sense that this is the way they play to win, and they win this way. So it's not pretty enough. It's not sexy enough. What are you talking about? They're coaching the game to win the game, right?
They've got their 10 wins,
and
they did coach it to win it.
It does for them. This is the way it goes.
Yeah.
And that deal about, no, they didn't look good. Sure, one game you didn't look good, so that's going to keep you out. If that game keeps them out, I'm just going to go nuts.
We had Bronco Mendenhall earlier in the show. Good talk with him. Hit a bunch of different topics. He was in an expansive mood today. I mean, he's usually good with us, but I thought he was especially ready to talk today. That was a great turnaround at halftime. Down 17-7 to dominate the second half, to beat a Fresno State team that's got 7 wins and will probably beat San Jose and finish 8-4 here. And to do it on the road and get their first road win and get bowl eligible, it was awesome all the way around.
100%. Yeah. This is exactly what he did in 2005. I think he took a team that was in more disarray, probably had more talent, and got it together. And here he's got a program that had been down. The players had been bruised, battered, but bring in some guys and away you go. And he's built it up. He's established a standard in his first season, and that's what you want. That's important for them to show well in these next 2 games. They did, once they got bowl eligible for BYU, they did lose the next 2 games, but they were in overtime to Utah, and then a 1-score to Cal. And so it's not like they got blown out in either of those games. They went down to I think that was the first of several Vegas Bowls that basically
5 in a row, I think,
gave the Vegas Bowl a new lease on life.
Yep.
That was about to be
elevated it big time.
About to be eliminated or discredited.
There was talk about it.
Word?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know whatever the phrase you would use. They were going to go away.
Right.
And
accredited, I think. They need accreditation from the NCAA.
Yeah.
And they weren't drawing anybody. And
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they're filling it up, and now they got an NFL stadium, and they got Power League contracts.
And away
it's totally pivoted.
Yeah, Vegas itself, from the sports perspective, is totally pivoted from those days.
A lot of speculation that that's where the Utes are headed, which makes sense because bowls need to be drivable, and that one is.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Whatever.
Arizona to the Sun Bowl, I think. Another one that's been
I haven't
out
even
there.
looked at that yet.
Yeah, I just looked at it over the weekend.
Oh, I should have.
Yeah.
But it didn't dawn on me to go on that. And those are fine. Those are whatever it might be, and do what you do. But Bronco's done a phenomenal job there, and Bryson Barnes has had his crowning moment as a quarterback.
Oh, fantastic performance. He was really good against UNLV, even better against Fresno.
Tough kid.
And his toughness was on full display. Coach is getting fired. Pete Carroll fires offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, so the Raiders at 2-9 have a new OC. And Cal fired Justin Wilcox, and Florida State announced that Mike Norvell will return, and Mike Aranda is going to return at Dave Aranda. Sorry, Mike Norvell. Dave Aranda is going to return at Baylor, where the athletic director is already out. So if you fire the coach, then who hires the new coach? And so it makes sense that he gets out of the year.
But then they just rolled over in the second half against the Cats. My gosh.
Oops.
They looked awful.
Oops.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you want to tell the people? Basketball and hockey tonight. The Jazz will be on 97.5 The Zone. They're playing the Warriors in San Francisco. And the Vegas Golden Knights are here to play the Mammoth at the Delta Center. And the hockey will be on 1280 The Zone, and the basketball will be on 97.5 The Zone.
Beautiful.
There it is. We're back with your feedback next. Stay with us. BYU beats Cincinnati. Takes a giant step towards playing for the Big 12 championship. How cool is that? Highly ranked. True Blue BYU sends us a cartoon, PK.
Yes.
It's so dope.
Don't ever do that again.
I want to be accurate and authentic, even if it was awkward. Accurate, authentic, and awkward. AAA.
I am a member of AAA.
Chris says Bear's going to get him to Dallas.
Okay, then they need to hustle over to Arlington.
Okay. Thank you for the geography.
Well, you're super close, though.
You are. You're close. You got to fly in the airport in Dallas.
Right. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Scott says, you mean LJ is. Martin is by far the best player on the team. As LJ goes, so goes BYU. Bears got to do a lot better. Way too slow in his reads.
Well, yeah. Give him some time here. It's hard to criticize what he's allowed to do and what he does do. Martin has had a huge season, no doubt about it. I don't know if he's the best player on the team. I might look at somebody from the defensive side. If you want to go the most important player offensively, I'm fine with that.
Brandon, I was not impressed by our offense nor our offensive play calling. If we play this way against Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game, we are cooked.
Win the freaking game, man.
Brandon, man, you got to enjoy life a little bit. I thought that was a really impressive win on the road against a good, but not great, but a good Cincinnati team. And I didn't think they rolled over at all. You know, they'd lost 2 in a row. They were going to try to fight their way through it. Their D got a lot of stops after the ball across midfield in the first half.
And Big Fox was there, and Big Fox was in Lubbock, and that fired everybody up. Now, it wasn't immediate. They had to wait several hours before the game started. I understand that, but still, there was a clutch win, man. You needed a win, and you got it. You're 10-1, and you're worried about what isn't. Be grateful for what you have. My goodness.
Nav says the Utes have a comeback for the ages of 10 K-State. How nuts was that game? Nav says, crazy. Who scores a 100-plus yard two-point interception off an extra point attempt? That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and they picked up the flag. They could have called potential pass interference.
I think the ball was deflected to the line of scrimmage, and that got him off the hook.
I don't think it had a big effect on the game.
As it turned out, I think mentally at the time it did because it's like, oh, now it's 10, you need a touchdown, a field goal. And ultimately they got the 2 touchdowns anyway.
Right.
So, but at the time, I can see where if you're looking for something to hold on to on the sideline, you're like, see, okay.
Sure. Okay, fine.
But ultimately.
Yeah. It was a bizarre play and a game of bizarre plays.
Exactly. John says the gods are smiling. Texas Tech's going to lose this weekend at West Virginia, and Utah will get the revenge in Arlington.
That would be the ultimate smile.
Jesse says most likely just going to mean Utah versus BYU in the Alamo Bowl. The projections are BYU and USC in the Alamo Bowl. I don't know what they know or don't know, but looking at a couple of the ESPN writers who take their guesses, that's what they had was BYU and USC in the Alamo Bowl and Utah in the Vegas Bowl against a couple different opponents. There was no agreement on who they'd play.
Jeez, that would bite for these guys to be this good 2 years in a row and be left out.
Yeah. We've had someone send in some audio. Yak, what do you have? You can go to our app and use the voicemail.
So your good friend Liz sent this in, and I think this is going to get some people. Oh, sorry, not Liz. Jill had this to say. And
I know you have a good friend, Liz.
So here you go.
Well, I think we can all agree that this Utah win shows that they're living right on and off the field.
No, the classics never grow old.
I mean, some of the stories I've heard.
18 years and still going with that quote.
Yeah, where would this community be without me in Austin?
Be cheated out of that quote. Don't want to be cheated out of that
and
quote.
Austin loves me, man. I saw him down in Black Desert, came up to me.
Yeah, 18 years, he's worked through whatever it was he was feeling. So there you go. I mean, he was very self-effacing when he talked about that quote when he was on with us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I don't know if he'd go that far. We'll get him back on and ask him if it was awesome.
Oh, he's a collie. He stands by it 100%.
Well, he said something about opening his mouth and putting his foot in there. I can't remember how he phrased it.
He didn't.
What did he say? He said something self-effacing that he shouldn't have said it or he popped off. How did he phrase it? He used some expression. I don't know what it was. It was very self-effacing, and I thought it reflected well on him. That
18 years later, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that he approached it, yes, when he came on with us.
Course.
For people who walk around, you and I know different, but people walk around thinking somebody hates you or whatever. Yeah. That was not his attitude at all.
Give me a team, any sport, any time, full of guys like Austin Collie, and I'm winning. That's a fact.
All right, DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're all done. Jake and Ben are coming up next. Stay with us.